Hello, all of you. I'm here again, myself Dipali from e-biology classes presented by Fatima Convent High School with Chapter 6 Life Processes. Continuing further with the chapter, let us now understand what are different modes of nutrition and how do organisms get energy from nutrition. Now, in the previous part of the chapter, we understood that each and every organism needs to show movement of molecules, and for this movement of molecules, they require energy. And this requirement of energy is fulfilled by food or nutrition. But do all organisms have same way of taking in food, or do they take same kind of food? And why this different modes of nutrition is seen in all living organisms. When we walk or ride a cycle, we are using up energy. Even when we are not doing any apparent activities, energy is needed to maintain a state of order in our body. We also need nutrition from outside in order to grow, develop, synthesize protein, and other substances needed in the body. This source of energy and material is food we eat. So, the basic requirement of food in the body is to get energy, and this energy is required for growth, development, synthesis of proteins, and other requirements, wear and tear of the body. How do living things get their food? The general requirement of energy and material is common in all organisms, but it is fulfilled in different ways. Some organisms use simple food materials obtained from inorganic sources in form of carbon dioxide and water. These organisms are autotrophs, including green plants and some bacteria. Other organisms utilize complex substances. These complex substances have to be broken down into simpler ones before they can be used for upkeep and growth of the body. To achieve this, organisms use biocatalysts called enzymes. Thus, heterotrophs' survival depends directly or indirectly on autotrophs. Heterotrophic organisms include animals and fungi. From this, we can basically understand that the nutritive need of any organism is fulfilled by two modes basically. Autotrophs or autotrophic and heterotrophic. Autotrophic mode of nutrition is when the organism just takes inorganic substances and they synthesize or make the glucose molecule or the energy giving molecules on their own inside their body, and that is basically observed in plants due to presence of chlorophyll, which is the most important component required for autotrophic mode of nutrition. Whereas in heterotrophic mode of nutrition, the organism cannot synthesize this glucose or energy giving molecules in their own body, and so directly or indirectly they take the complex substances prepared by autotrophs and they break down into simpler substances to release energy. So we can say that these two modes of nutrition are completely different from each other. The heterotrophic mode of nutrition are further classified, about which we will study under the topic of heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Let us study autotrophic mode of nutrition in detail. Carbon and energy requirement of autotrophic organisms are fulfilled by photosynthesis. It is the process by which the autotrophs take in substances from outside and convert it into stored form of energy. This material is taken in form of carbon dioxide and water, which is converted into carbohydrates in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. So, simply you can understand that when carbon dioxide and water combines in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll to give carbohydrates, water and oxygen as a byproduct, this process is called as photosynthesis or autotrophic mode of nutrition. Carbohydrates are utilized for providing energy to plants. We will study how these take place in the next section. The carbohydrates which are not used immediately are stored in form of starch, which serves as the internal energy reserve to be used as and when required by the plants. As somewhat similar situation is seen in us, where some of the energy derived from the food we eat is stored in our body in form of glycogen. So, you can understand that the excess of food or carbohydrates which is not required immediately is stored in plants as starch, whereas in animals which are heterotrophs, they store it in form of glycogen. Now let us go through the chemical equation which takes place between the components participating in the photosynthetic preparation of carbohydrates. 6CO2 plus 12H2O gives C6H12O6, that is glucose, plus 6O2 plus 6H2O in presence of chlorophyll and sunlight. Let us now see what actually happens during the process of photosynthesis. The following events occur during this process. The absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. The main function of chlorophyll is to absorb light, which is used as a source of energy to make bonds between carbon dioxide and water to form glucose molecule. Conversion of light energy to chemical energy and splitting of water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. Reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrates. These steps need not take place one after the other immediately. For example, desert plants take up carbon dioxide at night and prepare an intermediate which is acted upon by the energy absorbed by chlorophyll during the day. Let us see how each of the components of the above reactions are necessary for photosynthesis. If you carefully observe a cross section of a leaf under a microscope as shown in the figure, you will notice that some cells contain green dots. These green dots are cell organelles called chloroplast, which contains chlorophyll. Let us do an activity which demonstrates that chlorophyll is essential for photosynthesis. Take a potted plant with variegated leaves, for example, money plant or croton. Keep the plant in a dark room for 3 days so that all the starch gets used up. Now keep the plant in sunlight for about 6 hours. Pluck a leaf from the plant, mark the leaf green area in it and trace them on a sheet of paper. Dip the leaf in boiling water for a few minutes. After this, immerse it in a beaker containing alcohol. Carefully place the above beaker in water bath and heat till the alcohol begins to boil. What happens to the color of the leaf? What is the color of the solution? Now dip the leaf in a dilute solution of iodine for a few minutes. Take out the leaf and rinse off the iodine solution. Observe the color of the leaf and compare this with the tracing of leaf done in the beginning. What do you conclude about the presence of starch in the various areas of the leaf? You will observe that the areas which had chlorophyll had turned blue-black, which shows the presence of starch in that area, and that is possible only if it has undergone the process of photosynthesis. So, now let us study how plants obtain carbon dioxide, which is a component required for photosynthesis. We have talked about stomata, which are tiny pores present on the surface of the leaf. Massive amount of gaseous exchange takes place in the leaves through these pores for the purpose of photosynthesis. But it is important to note here that exchange of gases occur across the surface of stem, roots and leaves as well. Since large amount of water can also be lost through these stomata, the plant closes these pores when it does not need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. The opening and closing of pores is a function of guard cells. The guard cells swell when water flows into them, causing the stomatal pore to open. Similarly, the pores close if the guard cell sinks. So you can observe in this figure very clearly that the section which is bean shaped is the guard cell, the opening is the stomatal pore, and the green dots are the chloroplast. The opening and closing of this pore is controlled by guard cells, and the guard cells shrink to open the pores and swell to close the pores. And you can call this stomata as the nose of the plant. Now take two healthy potted plants which are nearly the same size. Keep them in a dark room for 3 days. Now place each plant on the separate glass plate. Place watch glass containing potassium hydroxide by the side of one of the plant. The potassium hydroxide is used to absorb carbon dioxide. Cover both plants with separate bell jars. Use Vaseline to seal the bottom of the jar to the glass plate so that the setup is airtight. Keep the plant in sunlight for about 2 hours. Pluck a leaf from each plant and check the presence of starch as it is in the above activity. Do both the leaves show the presence of same amount of starch? What can you conclude from this activity? So we can easily observe that how it requires carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. If the carbon dioxide is used up, it cannot undergo the process of photosynthesis. It can convert the water and carbon dioxide into carbohydrates only in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll and carbon dioxide. Based on the above two activities performed above, can we design an experiment to demonstrate that sunlight is essential for photosynthesis? Yes. So far we have talked about how autotrophs meet their energy requirement, but they also need other raw materials for building their body. Water used in photosynthesis is taken up from the soil by roots in terrestrial plants. Other material like nitrogen, phosphorus, iron and magnesium are taken up by the soil. Nitrogen is an essential element used in synthesis of protein and other compounds. This is taken up in the form of inorganic nitrates and nitrites. or it is taken up as organic compounds which have been prepared by bacteria from atmospheric nitrogen. So is this part very clear? How autotrophs prepare their own food to show movement of molecules in their body by liberating energy. Now, with the other part of the chapter, in the next video we will be discussing about heterotrophic nutrition.